Ripley. How you doing? Happy
Hey,
Friday.
Paul. Pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, we normally do these on Mondays, but you had your audit, so this is a Friday, so happy Friday.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, let's start off by tell us how your audit went.
Well, it definitely was a lot. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
We're used to the in-person, so this virtual audit was a new thing. Um, our whole entire system went very smooth. We didn't have any issues, no findings, really no recommendations. Unfortunately, we were hoping to do like a screen share or something and really capitalize on what we've got in ProShop and be able to utilize ProShop and show that off. But we ended up just doing a phone call segment, and we would take pictures or scan or quote unquote scan, but most of it we didn't need to scan. We already had it in the computer, and sent and emailed it over. So a little bit disappointed we didn't get to really show off
Right.
during our audit, but all in all, it went smoothly. We pretty much flew right through it, didn't have any issues. So I guess from that perspective, we're happy.
Happy to have it behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of we just it hit at a time where it was kind of a bunch of things were going on both at the shop and in life, and it's like the last couple of days have just been a nice like deep breath.
Nice. Okay. Um, and what have you been working on lately in ProShop?
Well, we really spent a lot of time making sure we were ready to do our audit completely remote. And basically, our goal was, well, we were told that we would have time to scan things and upload them, but we knew that that was just going to be a pain in our butt and a pain in their butt and take a lot of time. So we were fully prepared to have everything right on our screen and pretty much do the entire audit through ProShop is what we had prepared for. Like I said, it didn't really come to that, but so we spent a lot of time just getting everything into ProShop, having it all there and all ready.
Okay. Well, it's not a bad place to have it anyway, so
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I mean, we knew that was coming. We knew eventually we'd want to have that. Even some of the things that we might eventually replace when we fully switch to ProShop. We still want to have the old revision levels and whatever inside of there anyway. So it's just going to be a matter of, a few clicks of a button when we get to that point.
Right. Okay. Well, do you want to show us some of what you've been working on?
Yeah. All right. So, what you've got on your screen right now is inside of ProShop, where you guys have it all set up that we can do our audits through ProShop, our internal audits. This is our records of our different various audits, whether they've been performed by, in-house internally, or we've sometimes have had a third party come in and do a full internal audit of our entire quality system. And then we've also got the records from past registrar, events, whether they be a surveillance audit or actual or ISO audit. So we've got all that inside of here. And if I were to click on these links, we would actually be able to go right to a PDF that would have all the information from each particular audit.
Cool. Wow, you went back 3 years. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, we should have pretty much every audit that we've done since we started on the ISO system.
And these used to reside in filing cabinets, I presume.
Yeah, a binder. Yep.
Binders,
We
okay.
had them, we'd print each one off and put it into a binder. And then we obviously kept a network copy in our documents. And,
Right.
so obviously a lot of redundancy there. But, yep, another example of getting rid of paper and going to digital.
Nice. Very cool.
Another thing with prepping for the audit, we put a copy of all of our, pretty much every single one of our documents, anything that's a controlled document according to our quality management system. We put it inside of ProShop again, so that way it was there and ready if need be. So you'll see we've got our forms here. We have different forms for different reasons. Our standard purchase order form is right here. So anytime, we start off with this purchase order and go from there to order whatever it might be. So we've got all that inside of there, and for accessibility for the audit, we have our quality manual is in here. And nice thing about having it here is when we start to roll this out to the shop floor is these types of things are going to be a lot more easy for our guys to access. While still being controlled. Specifically forms, a lot of times they need a form for whatever whatever it might be that they have full access to now. Before they would have had to ask someone from the office to print something. And our quality manual, having that inside of there, again, our guys will be able to pull that up and see, kind of be reminded of what our quality policy are, what our quality objectives are.
Right.
So
did I see you have a new revision just last month for a new logo?
Yeah. We just added, or we just kind of redesigned our logo here.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Yeah. So it kind of dresses things up.
It's different than what's on your shirt. You need some new shirts.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. We kind of got into the 21st century, and we're very patriotic here. So we were glad to kind of incorporate the stars and stripes and red, white, and blue. We've always been kind of red, white, and blue has always been our logo color. But kind of incorporating it here, and definitely a lot more modern. It looks very, very appealing. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
at our shop we changed logos at some point, and we had a bunch of old shirts, and those are kind of like the classic. People had pull them out on occasion, wear a throwback old retro shirt to work.
Yeah.
But that's cool. It looks awesome.
We just went through and bought a bunch of t-shirts for the guys a month or so ago.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. You'll still see a bunch of get a taste of both. But I haven't gone through and updated my polos yet. I need to get a handful of newer ones, I think, and show it off. But
very cool.
Obviously.
Awesome. So back on the documents. So obviously, until you switch to fully using ProShop for work orders and purchasing and all that, you're going to continue to use your old forms, and then ultimately most of those will just convert over to the internal built-in ProShop ones.
Yeah. So our objective with knowing that we kind of had our ISO audit last week or this week, we didn't want to really get messing around with any of our QMS. We wanted to stick with what we were doing, what it said in our procedures as far as documents went and whatever else it might be. We wanted to make sure that we weren't going against that, even though we're obviously going for the better. We didn't want to have that kind of well, in your documents and your procedures, you're saying you're doing this, but now you're doing that. So it just wasn't a great time to start switching things over. And so that's why we kind of have drug our feet a little bit to.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. It definitely muddies the waters if you're kind of 1 foot in both systems right mid audit. So yeah, that makes that's really smart, I think. Cool. Well, this is great to have this all in there.
Yeah, we're excited to have it all right there, and we're definitely still have more to kind of work on in that area, but it's right there and ready. And the nice thing is that when we're working on switching over to more doing things through ProShop, as far as QMS related goes, we'll have the documents right here. So I mean, if we're in the middle of meeting with if I'm in the middle of meeting with Vince or something like that, we'll have them right here accessible, ready to pull up, and that way he can know how we do things right now.
Yeah. Cool. Right on. You got a whole bunch of other tabs going on there. What are on those ones?
Yeah, well, of course, while we're kind of preparing and doing things, we kind of came up with some different things that we were going to utilize ProShop for. One thing that one of our quality objectives, it encompasses a bunch of different, we call it customer satisfaction, but it encompasses a bunch of different things that are sales and customer satisfaction related. And kind of at the end of the month, I have always typically gone back through and tried to figure out, or maybe some months I was ahead of the game and kept a notebook as we were going of things. But one of the items that we kind of keep an eye on are orders where we're getting a new part that we've never done before. So now instead of trying to figure that out after the fact or try to keep a notebook and make sure that notebook is the one that I'm always writing in, we're just utilizing ProShop for this. So we simply made a quick equipment that we're just adding an item every time we get a new order that's a part we haven't done before. So.
And then what are you going to do with that information?
Well, just at the end of the month, we'll be able to tabulate how many total new orders, and that gets put into our gets thrown into a formula that comes up with our score for the month.
I see.
We factor in things like social media posts, sales contacts made, which we're also now starting to use ProShop to track that at the very least.
Oh, very cool. And so as it relates to new part numbers from clients, is it sort of an indicator of if they're growing their business with you by giving you new part numbers?
Yeah, that's kind of what we want to do. Our thinking, and we just switched this quality objective at the start of this year, but we want to make sure that we're not becoming stale. And we ran a report. I don't remember if I've told you this, but we ran a report about a month ago, and we took our 2019 sales by customers at whatever date this was, and we compared it to 2020, the same time period. So I think it was late August. So January through August for both 2019 and 2020. And we ran that report amongst all of our customers. And the percentage of change for our top 10 customers was so drastic. Our top customer this year is up 600%. Our top customer last year is down 60%. And we've got numbers like those across the board. So
wow.
We're really recognizing that as being a job shop, sometimes things are just out of our control. We have a part that we did probably 10,000 of last year is now obsolete. So sure, you kind of have to keep on developing new work, even when you're busy, because you don't know when that last job is, it's not going to come back anymore or whatever might happen. So we really want to we're focusing on trying to attain new work. So when we are getting orders that are new parts that we've never done before, we want to be able to recognize that. And we also, as you're looking at a profit loss, if a month is kind of not looking the best, but hey, we added 35 new jobs that we'd never done before, kind of a good indicator that we probably spent a lot of time on the R&D of those projects and a lot of upfront costs on that if they become repeat orders, they're going to be profitable for us in the future. So you can kind of turn a blind eye to a less than desirable month in that regard.
Put a positive spin.
Yeah.
Andy, this is really cool. And your insight about always be doing new sales even when you're busy, I think that is a lesson that a lot of shops need to learn and have a hard time learning. I know at the early years of our shop, we had these crazy ups and downs, right? We'd go do a bunch of sales, get a bunch of orders. We'd stop doing selling just because we're busy processing those orders. And then a couple months later, things would dry up again. And it's a vicious cycle that's really hard on profitability. So I commend you for having the insight and foresight to invest in that. That's wise.
Yeah, we've gone through. I mean, I think all of us, everybody, in different flows based on what industries we're all in and how diversified certain areas in that industry you are. It's just, and the last 6 months are obvious proof. It's so tough I don't know how you've had with your conversations with various shop owners, but around here, I talk to shops that they're like, yeah, I mean, we don't, we've done a lot of sweeping the last few months. And then I talk to other shops and they're like, we don't know how we're going to keep up with all this work. And it's just crazy to see that right now, I mean, obviously things are just so weird because of what's driving this current recession. And, it's kind of some areas are just booming and some areas are very slow and trying to be diverse across that. And also just because you've got work, you never know when the next pandemic might come along and derail what you think is good long-term work.
Yeah. So a couple points. How have you historically kept track of what industries your customers are in? And if you have a goal to be diverse across industries?
I mean, truthfully, we've always been a shop that we had one large customer that
Oh,
was always, to this day, up until this year even, they were always more than 50% of our business.
oh wow.
Um,
That's
so and as I first came into ownership, talking with banks, talking with a lot of different people that whether it be consultants or whoever, they'd always point at that number and be like, "That's not good," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Um, so when they were busy, we were busy. When they were slow, we were slow. And in fact, the last few months have been a prime example of the first time in our 26 years where they've been slow and we've been busy. So
good
it's
for
it's
you.
kind of showing that it's paying dividends. But so it really, to answer your question, it wasn't hard to track which industries we were.
Sure. Well, if in the contact module, there is a field for industry, if you haven't seen that yet. So if you
No,
put in your customers, whether they're in medical or commercial or aerospace or oil and gas or whatever, and then you can run a work by industry report, which is one of our standard
really,
dashboards. Yeah.
I was
And you can,
unaware of that. So
and then
that's
you
something.
can, I mean, you could look at your 2019 sales by industry, by client, see what all the percentages are.
Really,
At our shop, we always had a goal. I can't remember if I mentioned this, but we always had a goal of having no customer be a greater percentage of our total revenue than what our typical profit margin was. Right. So if that customer just completely dried up and disappeared, theoretically, we'd still at least break even.
yeah,
So not always easy to do because sometimes
yeah,
customers come on strong and they,
yeah,
take a ton of your capacity. But if
yeah.
that's the goal, and you work towards that by diversifying all the time, that's what leads to long-term stability and more consistent profitability.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is that, like, it's so tough to, just like you said, you get sometimes these customers, they bombard you, and it's like I always just remember telling a banker, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go tell our big customer that, hey, it's not good to be more than 50%, so we're gonna have to turn away a bunch of work. And he knew I was obviously kidding, but
Yeah.
it's definitely, it's just so, like, you just have to keep, because a lot of times I don't know how you guys have been in your shop, but for us, like, a lot of times the way we become, or we get a lot of work, is that you get one of these projects and then it turns into another project with that customer, and before you know it, they're like, hey, these guys do good work and we like them, and next thing you know, they're marching right up your sales total list. And
Hmm.
so it's just tough to try to get that foot in that door and just keep, working those numbers. And with so much changing, especially in 2020 with COVID, like I said, the number of changes have been so drastic. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Not that I'm well experienced that much,
Sure.
but it's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Some of the normal rules are definitely thrown out the window this year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you got on some other tabs there?
Well, you know how, like, I don't know how you are, but the way I operate is, if there's something I want to address, I leave it in my inbox. Um,
Me
and then,
too.
once it's taken care of, I throw it in a folder. That way I can still find it if I need it. But most of the time, once it goes in that folder, I'm not touching it.
Right.
So I've always had that, and I get some of these things that it's like, boy, I'd like to, maybe you read an article on, a modern machine shop or something like that, and hey, I'd like to read more about that, or I'd like to know more about that, but at the same time, I got a customer calling asking for parts, so probably that'll
Sure.
take priority. Anyways, I kind of was trying to come up with a way to be able to store that information, that it's like, hey, we want to look into this, or we want to, maybe we want to make this improvement, but now is not the time to get that done. So we went
Hmm.
in Pro Shop and we created an equipment, that's basically just improve. We call it improvement ideas, information, research, etc. So anything like that, and you can see it's obviously not too well developed at this point in time, but just projects that we want to take on to improve, or things that we want to, be able to research down the road, or maybe some rainy day I need to kill 15 minutes and while I drink my cup of coffee, just stuff like that that you want to kind of, you don't want to forget about, but at the same time, it's not a tomorrow must be done type of thing. We're going to start
Yeah.
using Pro Shop to track a lot of that. You can see
Cool.
here, I don't know if you know Reed Leland,
I do. Yeah. I
Lean
definitely.
Works.
Yeah, I've been there before.
Really, I
Yep.
hope to make it there sometime.
Yeah, great guy, great shop.
Yeah, he earlier this year, or during COVID, he was posting some videos, and inside of it, he had kind of described their system for if they had a continuous improvement idea, what they did, they put it on a board, and the email I had or LinkedIn messaged him and asked him about for more information, and he forwarded me the information on it, and it sat in my inbox for 3 or 4 months until I said, it's kind of bugging me, my OCD ways, that this is in my inbox, but I don't want to put it away because it's a good idea and I kind of like it. And so now that's right inside of here. I'll click on this link here, and I've got this right here, that this is their form of how they do things at Lean Work.
That's
So
so great.
eventually, when we have our management team together, I'm going to pull this out and say, hey, this is an idea that I saw, and can we adapt it to our shop somehow? Now, truthfully, we kind of have just created our own little form like this inside a pro shop, but
Mm-hmm.
for the time being, this is kind of something we'd like to eventually look into. And even right inside of here, I'm not going to click it, but you can see I've got the link for the video where Reed had talked about this. So if
Mm-hmm.
we were trying to show this off to our shop or to our management team, we can go right to that video.
That's
So
such a cool idea. I actually haven't never thought of using ProShop for this purpose, so this is really neat. And so then I'm extrapolating. So one thing you can do, of course, if you put in who's responsible, like if it's something you want to get back to, or if you want to assign it to your shop lead, right, you can put their name in the responsible column and then put a date you want to look at, or do you want them to look at it, and it'll send reminders and show up on the dashboard of things that need to be done.
yeah, and that's exactly what we had thought about, is like just things that, probably what this is obviously just in the initial stages of what we're going to do with this, but probably we'll set a lot of these to have a reminder date in December. So that way kind of that year end push to, wrap some things up by the end of the year or start new things by the start of next year. These will get encompassed in that as available.
That's so cool. Awesome. Nice work. I love the out of the box thinking.
Yeah. And then, again, I'm going to show you another kind of one of the things, especially, I'm sure we're not the only shop, but that we've struggled with is we've recognized that we have several of us that if we're not here, it's not good. And if we weren't to be here for a long time, it really wouldn't be good. So we started about 2 or 3 years ago. We called it an organizational binder, where we basically threw things that were, they weren't specific job related, but they were just like, hey, if we run into this problem, what do we do? I know one of the things we have in there is how to reset a turret if the turret loses its memory of where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
How to do it on several of our machines, how to do a backup, those types of things that it's like you don't do every day, you don't need to do every day, but when you do need to do them, it's kind of helpful. And if you don't have the person that knows how to do it here or is very familiar how to do it, we had at one point in time, we had a few of those type documents floating around the shop, and that's okay, but all of a sudden, if we can't find where that document, it gets put in a binder, and now which binder was that? So
Sure.
we created kind of a binder in the office that we were, having all this organizational knowledge, tribal knowledge. We were filling out forms and, putting them into the binder, and that way we had those anytime, to reference. So now we kind of are starting to get that inside of ProShop. You can see on the screen here, I've actually got like mill tolerance. I know we run into that sometimes, and I used to have a book that I kept right here, and you get to the bottom of the pile and you'd have a question like, well, is this stock size going to work to meet our customer tolerance? Or so now
Yeah.
we've got that in here, and we're going to put a bunch more items like that inside of here, along with we have one like our old ERP software that we're still using. We have a bunch of notes on that. Again, rarely use them, but if you need them, they're certainly handy.
Right.
So we're starting to kind of, basically we're able to clean up the office, put a bunch of stuff onto ProShop, but at the same time, it's easily accessible. So that way, our operators and our entire team are going to be able to get in here and look at things inside of here. and we're hoping too that, you know, we can encourage that to if we put something there that, you know, maybe it's not something that we need to teach them every day, but it's like, oh, like they get curious and click on it and like, oh, didn't understand that before. Now I do.
Hmm. Yeah, very cool. I mean, just that concept that you're trying to, you know, organize your organizational knowledge and eliminate the tribal knowledge is,
Yeah.
again, just incredibly wise. I will mention that for some of these things that might be a little bit task related, like how to reset a turret, for example, that is a brilliant use of the actual tasks module, right?
Okay.
And because one of the nice things about the task module is you can not only fully outline right in ProShop, not as an attachment, but right inside the browser window, this is how we do it. With, you can add photos and stuff too, but you can add specifically a list of, well, you can have a training document that's associated with it. Those are all revision controlled. And then you can have which employees need to get training in those items and tie the user table and their company positions right into the task. So like if you want to say, you know, you, in order to be, you know, a lead, you know, in the lathe area, you need to know how to reset a turret, then you can put that as a training requirement for a, you know, the lathe lead, right? And so it's, and then that can be revised, and as it revises, it automatically alerts the people that are on the training list. So there's just a lot more functionality that to help you do the same exact thing you're talking about here.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
it's more just reference material, this is a brilliant place for it, but explore a little bit more, or talk to Vince about using the task module for possibly some of these items.
Yeah. When we had set this up, I kind of anticipated that this, you know, that we're going to end up kind of, some stuff was going to get moved to that task module and some stuff was going to end up here. And I
Yeah,
kind of haven't dealt with the task module yet. So
right.
I
And
kind
the
of,
thing that made me remember it was you said, you know, based on priority, like not something you have to do every day. And the
yeah.
task module has specifically that. It's sort of a task priority system. So there's like daily essential tasks, there's like occasional tasks, there's just event-driven tasks. And you can organize them by department and description and by priority as well.
Uh-oh, the wheels are turning here. I'm thinking of all the things we can use that for inside of the, especially
Yeah.
with the videos and pictures. It's going to be another, we'll probably talk about that someday.
Okay. I look forward to that. Cool.
So the only other thing that we kind of same concept as what we've basically discussed with the other things is just, we did the, you know, a buildings and grounds type of to-do list, and we're going to make this so that way all of our guys can be editing it, adding to it
Mm-hmm.
as necessary. But you just, and nice thing with this is we got, you know, same thing as we've talked about before. You can add files. Unfortunately, we had a heater air conditioner that's pretty much done. So we're going to need to replace that. So we've actually got the estimate right in here. And as we go through with that, we'll, you know, I'm sure we'll be adding information, and eventually this will get taken into a, you know, to our machine tool equipment and for records there.
Oh
But
yeah.
just
Yeah.
various things, like we had some ice damage to one of our smaller roofs. So we got a picture here to show what we're dealing with and what we need
Mm.
to address. I don't think that's good, but
Yeah, that looks like you have a plant growing out of the hole in your ceiling, in your roof.
yeah. So it's just another thing that we're kind of using ProShop to be able to track, rather than, you know, the way we've done things, and it's probably not the best way, but a lot of times it's like I keep them up here, and you know, a lot of times you have projects around the shop that it's like, oh, that needs to get done, and then all of a sudden you have somebody that needs to kill a half an hour while they wait for somebody to set up a machine. They're like, what do you want me to do? And you know, you're like, oh man, there was something I needed to have done. I can't think of it right now. And then it's like, oh, I was gonna have them, you know, go clean out this area or whatever it might be. So it's
Yeah.
just helpful another thing to just kind of get everything in one spot, or a couple of spots at the very least, rather than, you know, maybe make a note of it, you know, before. Now we got it right here, it's in there. And I mean, and again, we can use the check dates. You know, obviously that roof needs to get fixed before winter time. So, you know,
Yeah.
we'll probably change that check due to October 15th or something, just to make sure we get it taken care of by then.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, your kind of trajectory with implementing ProShop is definitely a little bit different based on largely on the fact that you had this big audit coming up and you needed to focus on that. Um, I think this is just incredible sort of foundational, systems you're putting in place that are getting things out of your head and allowing, managers or other folks you hire to help you, run that part of the business so you can do the more important stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're really like, and we're hopeful to really get a lot more communication, that that we get more names on this list besides just my name, that all of a sudden somebody notices the roof's leaking or something needs fixed or whatever it might be, whether it's in this module or they have an idea for an improvement, or whatever it might be, that we start to get that, so we're encouraging it from everybody. I know we've talked a little bit before, but I just had we kind of had a debate on, we have some parts that we run pretty much on a monthly basis, and we've always shipped them one of two ways, and we kind of had a debate today as to which way is the best way to ship them, and I was saying, well, I like to do it this way, but I kind of like it because I don't know exactly how you get the parts in the box the way you do it. So I said, well, simple solution for this, we take a picture, and now we kind of figured it out, that now we kind of eliminated the issue with packing the parts the other way.
Right.
So just kind of just capturing more and more of that knowledge, and getting it so we would get better communication, and why we do things the way we do things.
That's, yeah. This is just a prime example of working on your business, not just in your business. And I know a lot of shop owners have a really tough time trying to find the time to work on their business and build those systems to be
Guilty.
more repeatable. Well, yeah, I mean, we're all guilty. Me too, of course, but you're still getting a lot of great work done here. So you're obviously finding a way.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just burning the midnight oil, but this is great. Well, I should let you get back to work. So I think we talked about kind of, now that the audit's behind you, is kind of your goal next week is to really start digging into new orders and work orders and that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely the next step for us. We're starting to our goal now is to at least get all the parts entered. They might not have they might not have all the data perfectly correct inside of ProShop, but at least get the parts in there, get our customer orders entered in there. We can start picking and choosing which jobs we dial in on, and okay, check the times, make sure the times are in there right, actually run them through ProShop, adjust the operations as needed, add notes, add pictures for setups, whatever, on it. But at least if we want it, we get all the parts in there and start doing that. We're hopeful to start doing that next week.
Right on. Well, that sounds good. Well, I look forward to seeing the fruit of your labor on that agenda. But yeah, thanks. This has been really interesting. We got obviously a little more theoretical on some of this, but this is all really good
Yeah.
stuff, Andy.
It's always fun talking manufacturing in whatever regard it might be.
Oh, I know. I could.
As long as
do
we
it all
don't
day
get too
long.
worked up about things.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to teach my wife. She's like, stop talking about work with me. I'm like, let's talk about other things. Like, I love it.
I feel like that's me a lot of times. We've had a few weddings lately, and it's like you get somebody, and it's like next thing you know, you've been chewing on each other's ear for 15-20 minutes about whatever's going on at work, and what we're doing and what they're doing, and it's fun though. I mean, we enjoy it. Just other people around us might not.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for the day. I appreciate it. And I know you got a lot of fans that are eager for this next episode to come out. So they'll be happy to see that. And I'll talk to you in about another week.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Paul. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Take care, buddy.